I'm Jason,
Peter.
and this is Tabletop Weekly, episode number 101, Introduction to Tabletop Weekly 101. All right, we got some stories this late on a Monday night. D&D's new villainous subclasses show Wizards is listening to fans. Designers support backer kits collab funding and say there's no crowdfunding fatigue. Vampire the Masquerade gets its own crossover D&D book, and Paizo's CEO shares his concerns for the future of the company.
Woo. So, starting out, this is cool. This is good to hear. I mean, it's good for us as creators to hear D&D's new villainous subclass. Blah blah blah. Wizards is listening to fans. It's good that companies are starting to listen to their fans and not just put stuff out and not pay attention. We do that, so it's a good sign that other companies are doing that as well. But anyway, so D&D they did it's always funny when they talk about these stories. D&D did this or D&D did that. D&D doesn't do anything. D&D is a freaking product.
Right.
Wizards did. Which drives me nuts. I think it's funny.
Yes.
They talk about D&D like it's a person. Anyway, so Wizards dropped another playtest on June 18th, and they were revisiting some of their villainous subclasses that they are currently working on. So the Unearthed Arcana playtest, Arcana playtest.
Either is correct.
Is it really? Okay.
It's like schedule or schedule. Either is correct.
Depends on what side of the pond you're on, eh?
Yeah, and I'm making a Roman holiday reference that zero people will get. So there you go.
All right.
It's tough being 95 years old.
Yeah, it's my lawn. All right. Anyway, so they are listening to community feedback and overhauling the D&D villainous options rule set. And this is in direct response to a survey that they did, and the June update makes targeted, highly requested mechanical tweaks to 3 of the most ambitious dark subclasses. Now, I listed a bunch of these in here. I'm only gonna go into detail really on the active ones, but I'll mention the other ones as well. So the big 3 that they've done, they're not the big 3, but the 3 that they did the most work on. There was the Circle of the Titan, which is a druid class. So fans wanted these giant, the term was kaiju-esque, these giant transformations to feel more durable. So Wizards bulked up the Titan forms with a higher armor class, more hit points, and more devastating melee options.
All right.
So the Hell Knight, which is a fighter, it was originally criticized for relying too heavily on random luck, which is that always sucks in a game. I don't like that in a game at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely hate that when they do that. But the Hell Knight has been smoothed out. The design team altered the Infernal Wound dice so that advanced wounds trigger on any roll, making the ability much more reliable.
Nice.
And I've always been a big fan of that. Like if your character has a stat or an ability or something, it's why I like bell curves more than just straight dice rolls. So like games that use kind of dice pools and stuff, I generally tend to like them more. So the last one in the main 3 was the Demonic Sorcerer. So to prevent squishy casters, that's a funny term.
Squishy casters
from being trapped in melee.
Sounds like a SpongeBob class.
Right.
What are you going to play? I'm going to play the squishy caster.
Anyway, so
I got a 27 for squishy casting.
Right. Developers tweaked the Abysmal Rupture. Rupture? Yes, right. Okay, that's not right.
Abysmal Rupture. I actually had that last week. I shouldn't have eaten that bad burger.
Yeah,
I had an Abysmal Rupture.
As I get older, my Abysmal Ruptures are getting closer together. So sorcerers,
who named it?
The sorcerers can now manifest their rupture within 30 feet of themselves rather than.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can. That's projectile rupturing.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Anyway, so these are products. I'm sorry. Moving forward into the future products, these options were highly rated by fans in early surveys and are advancing to the official release schedule with only very minor tweaks. So the Pestilence Domain, which is cleric,
Mm-hmm.
Path of Lament, which is a barbarian, and Warrior of Venom, which is a monk.
Warrior.
Um,
What?
Warrior of Venom, which is a monk.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. So they've shelved and canceled the Primordial Patron, which is a warlock. This subclass scored too low at the player's base and was completely dropped from development. So in other words, people didn't like it and they said, okay, cool, we hear you. We're not going to do it.
Okay.
Which that's good. That's good. That's good.
Well,
and then
I don't like. Okay, you tell me more. Tell me more.
well, I mean, if they're doing like a big survey and it comes out like everybody, like just about everybody doesn't like it, then cut it. You know, you got to kill your babies sometimes.
Okay. Kill your
Non,
darlings, whatever.
yeah, kill your darlings. Yep. Non-subclass villainous paths. So these are, I'm not really sure what that means, but they were
subclass villainous paths. Got it. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So they were separately from the standard subclasses. Wizards is testing multi-tiered feat tracks that allow characters to undergo permanent monstrous transformations. Oh, I get it. So in other words, these are not classes in themselves; they're paths that current classes can take. So there was the Path of the Death Knight and Path of the Lich. That's kind of cool. I would love to play a campaign where I got to turn my character into a lich. That would be neat.
Mm-hmm.
These revisions come alongside broader transparency from the D&D team regarding past playtests. For example, the Primordial Patron Warlock has been officially shelved because it scored too low with players, while subclasses like the Pestilence Domain Cleric and Path of Lament Barbarian are being advanced for future products. So cool.
That's very cool. It's from a company perspective. It's great that they're doing the research. They're listening to what we call voice of the consumer in marketing.
Right.
They're doing a great job creating a product that contains all of the feedback from the relevant customer segments. I hate it.
Okay. You do. Okay.
I hate it. This is
Tell me why.
This is a wonderful, excellent way to run a toothpaste company. This is not D&D to me, though. I mean, and look, I'm just going to say right at the outset that I understand that this is fundamental to who Wizards is and what D&D is. It is not the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's the King Kong in the room. It's the 800-ton gorilla in the room. And it's got to deal with the fact that there are millions of players worldwide and you have to get the feedback and all that sort of stuff. That makes total sense to me. But it loses all immersion for me when it would be like watching my favorite TV show and realizing that every character had been focus grouped and tested, and they did a survey of all the TV show watchers before they decided what the plot was going to be for the next episode. They may actually do that to a certain extent, but I like auteurs. I like things that are coming from a vision. And sometimes the person making it says, look, this is the vision I have for this world. This is where it's going. Like it or lump it, you know? Mm-hmm. They cannot do that with D&D. You can't. It wouldn't succeed from a business perspective. But this is why I like to play indie games. It's like I like to play smaller stuff from smaller companies because I know I'm getting the author's vision. I'm getting this world that was developed for the sake of the world building or the story, and not for the sake of, well, actually, I thought that his powers were slightly overpowered in this way, and that I didn't think that I had enough. Yeah, that's all true. But now it's just a video game to me. Now it's just market research, and it doesn't fill me with wonder anymore.
Okay, well, that's an interesting point. I mean, like, so some of the stuff I've designed, I've cut out because it seemed like everybody hated it, and I was just kind of like, my thinking was, well, you know, if everybody hates this rule, or it's too or I'd see people like just fighting to like understand what I had written, it's clear to me, but you know, and I'm like,
that's legitimate.
Okay,
that's legitimate. You're doing play testing, you're writing a new game, that makes sense. But what they're doing is they are writing a new game every year. Now it's like, well, you played D&D this year, but don't worry, next year it's going to be different. The world you're playing in is different because we had market research that told us that it should be.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
I mean, it just kind of, to me, like if I picked up Lord of the Rings and I was like, oh, that was a really good book. And then next year I read it and I'm like, wait a minute, where did all the Nths go? They didn't test well with the
They did-
audiences.
they yeah, right. They didn't test well with the audience, so we removed them. It's like
We've
what?
changed the Nths from tree people to seaweed people because seaweed is really hot this year. It's
Right.
all about seaweed.
Yeah, and well, that is a problem with D&D. It's a victim of its own success in that term because again because they're part of Hasbro and big corporation and they got
Yeah.
to make money for the stakeholder. They're going to make money for the shareholders on a quarterly basis, not even like year to year. It's
Yeah.
how much money did you make this quarter? It does weaken their creative their creative
Impetus.
edge. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And like I
they
say,
got to be they
everything
got
they're
to be
doing
careful.
is they're doing it right. This is exactly what they should do. They absolutely need to do it this way. They should do it this way. And I think D&D players are going to be happy with it this way. I'm not saying in any way that they ought to do it my way. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that this is why you're not going to see me getting personally invested in playing D&D, at least not the new edition, because I know that I'm playing something that somebody in an office sat down and tested. And it's just, I play role-playing games as a form of escapism, and I want to immerse myself in that world. And if I'm sitting there going, I know why the rule is here because somebody on the 14th floor down in the conference room had an argument about it and said to change it.
Right. No, I get
It's
you.
just
I get
just
you.
personal taste. Just personal taste.
I mean, dude, I don't play D&D mainly for that reason. It's too homogenized for my taste. It appeals to too many people, so it doesn't appeal to me at all.
That's a really good point. If you've got
Yeah.
10 million players, how my grandfather had a saying that really shaped my worldview. When something would get very popular, he would say, "There is no way all those people can be right about the same thing."
Right. I agree.
And I was like, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But they're doing the right thing, and there's nothing bad about at least listening to fans. So
Yeah.
good job, guys.
And they do sound cool. I mean, these villainous.
Oh yeah, no, they
they,
sound
they
cool.
just sound cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next story.
All right, so this is kind of cool. Where this is over in the world of crowdfunding. Designers are supporting this idea of BackerKit's collab funding, and they say there is no crowdfunding fatigue. So it's funny. This is a phrase that was completely new to me, collab funding. And
Yeah,
I
what
was
is
having,
that?
well, it's funny. I was having a quick call with Hambone just before the show tonight, who is one of the folks from the Analog Union and, of course, 321 Action. And we all know Hambone. He's awesome. And I said, I wanted to talk about this collab funding thing, and I was about to explain to him what it was. He's like, dude, I know this stuff in and out. I'm like, oh, okay. Because you gotta remember, John Hambone, he literally wrote the book on crowdfunding when it comes to tabletop games. It's called Crowdfund Your Own Fucking Life. And it's kind of named after Maximum Rock and Roll had a great zine book back in the 80s called Book Your Own Fucking Life for bands that were on tour. So he did Crowdfund Your Own Fucking Life for gamers or game creators. So he knows all this stuff. Collab funding is when you see something like Zine Quest, for example. That's collab funding. Or basically what they do is BackerKit has been really good at promoting and helping people do this. They'll create a month and say, this month, we're going to set a theme. So maybe, let's say the theme this month is mermaids.
Okay.
And if you're into mermaid games, we're going to let every creator who is making a mermaid game can come together and they will be crowdfunding their mermaid games at the same time. And then BackerKit promotes them all and says, it's Mermaid Month, it's Mermaid May. So here is a list of 20 companies that have made mermaid games that you might want to try. BackerKit has a rule for this, which is you can't not just anybody can do it. They're not going to say 500 people did a mermaid game and we're going to let them all in. First, they curate them. They want to make sure that these are creators who have had successful crowdfunding in the past and who have delivered on it. Because they don't want somebody just showing up and saying, yeah, I'm going to do one. And then people are left high and dry.
No Whitmans allowed.
No Whitmans. And they want to see that people like their stuff. So there's that bar. And then the other bar that they set is it has to be a new product. You can't just say, well, we made a mermaid game last year, so we'll throw it in the mix. They have to make something new.
Right, right. Okay.
And the benefit for the gamer is if it's a theme you're into, like let's say it's Vampire Month and you just love vampires. Oh my God, this is great. I can discover all this cool new vampire games.
Right.
And you can see why it's good for the creators, because if you're a creator who doesn't have as big of a reach, now suddenly you're getting spotlighted with these others and
Yeah.
people are discovering you.
Right. It's an event. It's not just you putting out a
Yeah.
Because I mean, you putting out a Kickstarter is an event, but it's a big event, like involving all these people, and it gets it builds momentum. It gives everybody a piece of that momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And the creators are showing that it actually works for them. So for example, Topia did a thing where they've already been really good. When they do their campaigns, they had a campaign success rate of 90%. But when they did the collab funding, they had a success rate of 100%.
Okay, cool. Right.
And so some of the things we see here is that when cross collab creators do something, they see like a 31% overlap in shared backers, and 73% of them are net new. So they're not only seeing that they're getting some benefit from working with other people, they're seeing 73% of these people backing their stuff are brand new people that have never bought anything from them before.
That's awesome. That's powerful, actually.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some complaints along the way. So some people feel like they're getting shut out. That maybe brand new creators who have never done something before, they can't join, or what have you. But there's ways for them to get in. It doesn't mean you can never join. It means go do something and come back. Overall, it seems like a net positive. And the biggest part about it is, like I said, they're not seeing fatigue. Because one thing we've been worried about in the tabletop gaming industry, specifically in the indie publishing industry, is Kickstarter and all of its offshoots, collaborators, competitors, etc., whether it's BackerKit or I forgot who's the other big one?
Gamer, shit.
No, the ones that don't make you fund the whole thing.
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways, all these have been around for a very long time now, and they're an excellent way to fund your stuff. But there's this concern, like, when are people going to get sick of this?
Yeah,
when are people going to just stop doing it? And is it a fad? Well, it's been going on for 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think I did a successful Kickstarter. God, I want to say it easily over 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was. When I did Rogue Chess, and I was brand new. I mean, nobody knew who I was or anything, and I actually managed to make it successful. But that was a long time ago, so it's been around a while.
And the funny thing is, I'm digressing here a little bit, but I remember before there was Kickstarter, there was a sort of a proto Kickstarter, like almost a, it was to Kickstarter what Friendster was to Twitter, right? Like,
good Lord. Okay.
too far ahead of its time to have succeeded. And it didn't have the right formula. I don't remember what it was called, but what I remember you could come up with an idea for a product and you'd put it out in front of the world and people would vote on whether they wanted to see it. And then it would get funding based on those votes and they would have to buy it. And Bed Bath & Beyond carried the products. Some of them were really, really innovative. These were all consumer products,
Right.
Some of them were really innovative, neat things. It failed. And everybody kind of thought, well, it was this early idea, this early age of what we call user-generated content and, crowdsourcing things. Because that word crowdsourcing came before the word crowdfunding.
Okay. Right.
Crowdsourcing was the original thing.
Right.
And so, you know, it looked like, hey, it's a flash in the pan, it's going to go away. And then Kickstarter shows up and they're like, well, what if instead of crowdsourcing, we did crowdfunding, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knew what it was. It hits big. One day somebody made $1 million and we're like, nobody will ever make more than $1 million, you know. And so you would think that that kind of a thing would then lead to a peak and then a collapse.
Right.
So
yeah.
following the expected curve, Kickstarter and all of its competitors should have seen their bubble burst 5 years ago,
Right.
but they didn't.
But they haven't, because more platforms have come out, like BackerKit breaking away from Kickstarter, like
Which is a crazy story. I would love. I hope that's getting taught in business classes.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
that
yeah.
here you have this company that's already doing a crazy thing, and you have another company that's building its company on the first company's platform, and then they turn around and compete with them.
They had to, though. They had to, because
They
Kickstarter
did.
forced their hand. Kickstarter said, "Oh, we're going to allow people to do all the stuff that BackerKit allows you to do." And BackerKit had to. They either had to start their own platform or go out of business, because how are they going to compete with Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Kickstarter's, they were helping Kickstarter, and Kickstarter's now like, "Oh, we're just going to do all the stuff that you were doing." And BackerKit's probably just like, all right, well, we either got to go all in or we're out."
Whoever pulled that off at BackerKit they deserve a medal.
They do, yeah,
because
they're doing
that's-
well.
It's ballsy to take that move and then to succeed with it. I mean, what BackerKit did by breaking off of Kickstarter and then competing with them, it would be like, you remember in the 80s, everybody had a car stereo that they bought somewhere else, and people would buy like their Alpines and their Clarions and their Blaupunks.
Yeah, you
And
would
so
buy your car and you would get you'd go for the cheaper radio, because you're like, no, I'm gonna get a better
right, because
radio.
the cars had shitty radios. Even the high end ones were bad radios. So you buy your car and then you take out the cheap one, you put the Alpine in. So this would be like if General Motors had said, we're going to put better stereos in, and Alpine had said, okay, then we're going to build cars.
Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna build cars now.
Yeah. So and then if it had followed the same model, instead of driving like Toyotas and Fords today, we'd all be driving Clarions and Blaupunks and Casios.
Yeah, driving my Sony right now.
Yeah. I mean, Sony did try to build a car. It didn't work. But anyway, so it's already a cool story. But what's really cool here is, first of all, for whatever reason, people have gotten kind of comfortable with the idea of saying, I'm going to back this product and I'm going to get it 6 months or a year later or whatever. But now collab funding apparently is seeing greater success than regular crowdfunding, and it's pretty obvious why. Because like I said before, if you're into vampires and you're doing Vampire Month, you're going to back a whole bunch of vampire things because that's your jam.
Yep.
So it's really it's just good news. That's all there is to that story. It's just good news.
Right. Yep.
And speaking of vampires,
Speaking.
yeah, that's your cue. Oh,
yes.
I set up such a beautiful
Sorry.
segue.
Speaking of vampire,
What a beautiful segue.
Vampire the Masquerade gets its own crossover D&D book. Now, this is actually pretty cool. Again, I would play Vampire before I would play D&D, but I think D&D has really never done vampires justice. Like, they've had.
Oh,
vampires
you're gonna! I can hear this. I can hear.
I
the
know. I can
screams.
hear. Just go ahead and scream away. I
Yeah, come
still
on,
say-
Strahd.
Yeah, blah blah blah. But this is for people playing vampires.
Are you turning into me?
Nah.
Yeah,
Yes, I
blah
am.
blah blah.
Yeah,
Bunch
blah,
of
blah, blah.
idiots.
F off. No, this is really cool, because Vampire did vampires better than anybody. They really did. Because I don't know if you ever played Vampire, but I did.
Yes.
I love Vampire. I think it's a great
It's
game.
one of the best games ever made.
And so they have this thing called Vampire the Masquerade Bound by Blood. And it is officially licensed, World of Darkness, using D&D 5.5e rules, the 20. All right, so I'm really confused with this. So 5.5e, that's the 2024 rule set. Is that correct? Because what do they call the 2026 rule set?
Oh no. There's just, you've got 5th edition, and then you've got 5th edition Extra Plus Ultra Duracell, whatever they call it, 5.5. There's only those two. There's no
Okay.
there's no other version after that. So just
Okay.
call it 5.5.
All right. So this is being developed by a group called Ghostfire Gaming, with White Wolf. So this introduces fully playable vampires, which in the D&D world, it totally makes sense that you could play a vampire. I mean, Christ, half these classes are way more powerful than like.
No,
your
you're
standard
right.
vampire.
You're in that sense. D&D has never done vampires right because they've never done it as a playable class that made sense.
Right. And there's nothing to stop you from doing that. And it doesn't unbalance the game. Because trust me, you get a, 8th level cleric or whatever, and they're as bad as, half the vampires that you would ever encounter in a game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so like it says here, unlike their standard half vampire Dhampir, or
Vampire.
generic
I'm a
vampire
vampire.
curses, this is a fully fleshed out thing. So what's really cool about this, you played vampire, and so in vampire you had these disciplines. So when you made your vampire up, you would pick these different powers so that they weren't all the same, which is super cool because who all wants to play the same basic character. So what they're bringing over celerity, fortitude, potence. And if you're not familiar with these terms, if you've never played vampire, celerity is how fast. So it's going to allow your character to be faster, do more attacks per round. And they're actually treating these like subclass pathways. So just like your character would get this ability, that ability, and some other ability, your vampire gets these abilities just like they would, like a fighter would get his special attacks and stuff. And then they are powered by blood points, much the way, and I can't remember, is it sorcerers that have like mana points, or
You're asking the wrong guy.
yeah, I don't know. Whichever the magic using class that uses points to do spells instead of just like reading them and remembering them, that's what they'll use blood points for that.
That makes sense.
But they also bring in stuff like Auspex, which is heightened sensory awareness and grants extra sensory perception. Obfuscate, which is like invisibility. Obfuscate, though, is really cool. Are you familiar with Obfuscate from Vampire?
I haven't played Vampire since the 90s.
Okay, so the cool thing about Obfuscate is it's sort of like invisibility, but instead of it like you being invisible, it's sort of like this psychic thing where it's not that you're invisible, it's you're telling people you're not there.
So that is the equivalent of Douglas Adams in The Hitchhiker's Guide creating the SEP.
Okay, I don't remember
the SEP in The Hitchhiker's Guide is an SEP field is used to hide things of any size. You can make it hide something like a spaceship. You can make it hide a mountain. SEP stands for somebody else's problem.
Oh God, that's like the NBY, not my backyard.
Yeah,
NBY.
So the somebody else's problem field makes it so that yes, everybody sees it, but they believe it's somebody else's problem, so they don't notice it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's like Obfuscate. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's Dominate, which is taking over people. The Presence, which effortlessly sway, terrify, or charm crowds. Protean, which is your shape-shifting stuff. The Protean vampires were kind of like they were the ones that would turn into creatures and stuff like that, or like pop claws or whatever. And then they've added blood sorcery, which they call thaumaturgy.
Okay, cool.
Which is a type of blood.
Look
magic.
at you pronouncing thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy, yes. I've happened to.
Speaking of pronouncing, we have a chat. We have a little chat here.
Okay, what's that?
Do you see it on the screen?
Oh yeah. Does 5e still have? Oh Christ, I can't read that. Vryloka. Get Peter to say Vryloka. All right. Brian, did I say it right? Did I say Vryloka properly?
I'm going to say you did.
All right. Anyway, so the last little bit of this, the book also features a Dark Ages themed adventure designed specifically to fit the tone of the World of Darkness. It comes out this July and features cover art and interior art by Gothic artist Micah Ulrich, which I'm not sure.
Nice. Well, I like the art that we're seeing on the screen right now. It's very, it speaks to me. It's so different from the things that you see coming out of Wizards of the Coast. Where,
yes.
Oh, by the way, Brian says yes. You did pronounce it right.
Yay.
Well, Brian says so.
Right. Well, then
I mean, he's Canadian, so he's probably pronouncing it wrong.
Right.
They,
Just like
they're
there's temperature and their measurements.
they're up there saying words like color with a U,
Right.
tomato.
Tomato.
I actually don't know if they say tomato,
I don't know.
but this art, because Wizards of the Coast art is so boring. It is so
Generic.
generic and everything's the same. And it's why you have to be so careful about AI art with them because there's just no human. This is not a. I should stop before I. This is
It's
not a dig
corporate
on
art.
any.
Look,
This
it's
is not
corporate
a.
art.
What I'm going to say is not a dig on any of the individual artists. The individual artists working for WotC are incredibly talented and they're good, but they are forced to work in a homogenous way. Just
Yeah.
like if you work for Disney back in the age of hand-drawn art, you had to, do your own way. I saw a beautiful video from the 1950s where Walt Disney was introducing how they do their art, and they were showcasing the four different artists that work for Disney, and they're all doing their stuff, and it looked exactly the same because it has to. You're making
Yeah.
Bambi or Snow White, and then they took these four artists out for a day and said, I want you each to paint this tree the way that you would do it. Not the way Disney makes you do it, but the way you would do it. And each of the artists walked you through like the different things they were seeing and how they viewed it. And they were all so different and so unique. These guys who had been making identical cookie cutter stuff because they needed to, when you saw what they got a chance to do, it's a beautiful video. If you just look up, anybody who wants to look this up, search YouTube for Disney artists paint a tree. It's beautiful. And so I'm sure that the Wizards artists, they can go paint a tree their own way too.
Sure.
But what these folks, White Wolf or Ghostfire or whoever made the decision, has allowed this artist to do is to say, do your style.
Yeah.
And it's unique and it's special. And AI is not going to do this because AI is going to recreate, the popular thing. This is somebody's human, unique perspective. And I love it for that.
Yeah, it's good. Good. All right.
One of these days, I'm going to have an opinion about something.
Maybe could unionize that opinion, huh?
Oh, there we go. Okay. So normally we try not to end on a bummer, but today the final story of the day is a little bit of a downer. Not too bad though. So tonight's final story is about Paizo. So we said the headline here is Paizo's CEO shares his concerns for the future of the company. Now, right off the bat, they're not going out of business, folks. Don't worry. No. Paizo's not dying or anything like that, but they've been hit hard and it affects the industry. Not it affects the industry as a whole. It reflects what's going on in the industry as a whole. So we talked previously a couple of weeks ago about the fact that Paizo had to do what for them is very big layoffs. They laid off 12 people. And for a company the size of Paizo, that's a lot. I don't know what their total employee number is, but those 12 people that got laid off represented 20% of the union at Paizo.
Wow.
And I'm not good with math off the top of my head, but I would guess that means it's about 80
60,
people in the union.
About 60.
60? Okay, you're the engineer. I'm going to trust you. So Paizo doesn't have the kind of size that Wizards does. I don't know how many employees Wizards has, but it's more than 80.
Right.
But when Paizo has to lay off 12 people, that's a big hit. And a lot of this comes down to their how do I want to say this? Well, I'll just start with where this came from. So this is in the wake of the bankruptcy that happened with Diamond Distributors.
Oh, shit. This is coming all the way back from Diamond Distributors, coming back around again.
Yeah, and I would say it probably goes a little further than that because so Diamond Distributors, their bankruptcy didn't happen in a vacuum either. Certainly some of it came from Diamond's bad decisions.
Right.
But those bad decisions happened in the wake of changes in the industry, but also COVID. When the pandemic happened, everybody had to stay home. And so what does that do for a game that you're supposed to play at a table with other people? Right. It's going to hurt it. Mm-hmm. Even though, we saw the rise of virtual tabletops, etc. that's still going to hurt things because as let's say that everybody kept playing, every single person, but they had to play on virtual tabletops. Well, a lot of people are going to still buy the physical books, but some are not. Some are going to just buy the PDF. And I don't know if the profit, what's the word I'm looking for here? Margins
Margin. Yeah.
are better or worse.
Right.
But it certainly hurts your friendly local game store when you buy a PDF instead of a book because the friendly local game store doesn't get any of that.
No. No.
So we saw a lot of FLGSs close in the wake of the pandemic because while the government was all too happy to make sure that General Motors and whatever other Microsoft
Ooh, you want to?
survived.
Can I go off on a rant a little bit? Just tiny bit.
Rant away. I'll take
All
a
right.
drink while you rant.
So Home Depot got to stay open, right?
Yep.
But all the like mom and pop hardware stores, they had to close. Made me so angry. Like all the way that
We should have all been out there with pitchforks over that.
we should have.
This
been.
has
Should
and
have
this has
been.
and this is not a political statement. This is
No.
nothing to do with any political party. This is simply bullshit.
Yeah. Why?
You know?
Why does this? Because I'll tell you why. You could have kept all the safety measures. You could have kept everything safe
Yeah.
and all that. You just would have had a line. People would have had to stand in line 6 feet apart, wear masks, and go in the store and shop.
If
Don't
you
shut
can
down the
shop safely at Home Depot, you can shop safely at Greg and Sons local hardware store.
or call Greg and Sons and say, "Hey, I want these things. I'm going to come pick them up." Cool.
Yeah.
They put it in a basket for you. You walk in, buy it, walk out.
Yeah. And we should have been supporting them, but that's the trouble is that again, this is a completely nonpartisan statement. I don't think anybody on any side of the aisle would have a problem with what I'm saying here is that all of our laws and all of our policies are dictated by the people who pay for them. And the people who can afford to buy themselves a congressman are not Greg and Sons local general store. It's the CEO of Home Depot.
And those people are valuable. Those little businesses are super, super valuable to society. I mean,
I've said
they just
before,
are.
anybody who knows me personally knows that I've said that if they make me king, the first thing I'm doing is putting a cap on the size that a company can be. I love local businesses. I want to go to my local restaurant, my local bookstore, my local hardware store, because the people who work there care about the place they work. The owner is standing right there next to them and they work together. It's not some billionaire in an ivory tower somewhere else that they don't care about, so they just put in the minimum effort. When you have a local business, you have people who care. They care about the community, they care about the customers. And that's what a friendly local game store is. There's a reason we call them FLGSs.
Yep. Dude,
Friendly local game stores.
If there was still a video rental place, I would have a membership there and I would go there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
would.
mean,
I totally would.
There's no substitute for going into a store and having the owner say hi to you by name and knowing, what you like.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to be part of a community. Everybody likes to be part. I was even thinking about this the other day as I was listening to, not Freakonomics, but they have a spin-off podcast, The Economics of Everyday Things. Okay. And they do about the economics of a thing you never thought about. And they did about the economics of fraternities.
Oh shit.
And
okay.
It's a fascinating
think
one.
Of that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely listen to it. It's interesting. But what it got me thinking about is that if you belonged, were you in a fraternity?
No.
People might be shocked to know that I was.
I'm a little shocked to that.
Yeah. I was in a fraternity. And, but here's the thing about it is that when you're in a fraternity, you're in a gang. You're with a bunch of people and you have not just, certain things that you share in terms of, the bills or the rent or the food or the, everybody thinks about the parties and, of course that's definitely part of it. But you also have to operate as a community. Yeah. You take care of each other. You make sure that you do your studies. If somebody's having a little trouble that month, you help them out. Yep. People like to be part of a community. Johnny Marr, the guitarist for the Smiths, in his book, he says, the thing about being in a band is you're in a gang, and there's nothing that substitutes for when everybody in a band wears the same outfit and goes out on stage, and there's just that feeling of being part of something. Yeah. People like to be part of something. And that doesn't work when you're talking about some huge faceless corporation with 150,000 employees.
Nope.
And so, yeah, people want to buy from their friendly local game store, but I know we went off a little bit of tangent here, but yeah, during the pandemic, the lobbyists weren't there to protect them, and so they withered and died as a thing. Those that survived the pandemic through good decisions, good luck, and whatever else, God bless them.
Super damn creative.
Yeah, but the people who didn't survive, they didn't all go out of business during the thing. Some of them are going out of business now, because like the Complete Strategist in New York City. And this is not a company that made bad decisions. This is a company that's been around since 1975.
Right. But that hit was just too hard to recover from.
It was, and that sucks. And those echoes or ripples, I guess is the right word, are felt throughout the industry. Those ripples of the friendly local game stores having to shut down or doing less business means the distributors that supply the products to them have trouble. So then Diamond goes bankrupt. And then the companies who are relying on those distributors, then they have problems. And now we have Paizo losing 20% of their union to this. And so it's a real shame. But the thing is, that distribution wasn't Paizo's primary sales channel. They make the most of their money through direct sales to customers, believe it or not. People going on to Paizo.com, buying things directly from them, or maybe going on to DTRPG, and downloading things, whatever it might be. So it's not like they lost their biggest channel, but they lost a major channel.
Right.
And they're replacing it. They now, I believe, are working with Indie Press Revolution or something like that. Or no, that's not right. That's not right. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They've got another distributor. They're doing all those things. But in the wake of all of that, they are now saying, what are we doing going forward? Because when they lost Diamond, obviously they lose a distributor, they get a new one. Okay, that's fine. But then they had all this product that they had already delivered to Diamond. And a lot of product. I mean, I don't know how much. I'm sure it was millions of dollars worth.
Oh, sure.
It was enough that in 2025 they had a loss. They lost money, which they don't.
That's crazy.
Do.
Look, how crazy is that Paizo lost money in a year? Like that doesn't even make that sentence doesn't make sense.
Right.
There has to be outside factors because, again, I don't play Paizo stuff, but I recognize the quality of what they do, and I know so many people who play Paizo products. Yeah. Like how the F could they lose money? Like,
well, and here's how.
Again, right? Again, it has to be an outside influence. It's not something they.
No, they make good decisions.
It's not them. Right.
They make good decisions. I might, be dismissive of their art style and their design style. Not their art style. I think their artists are really good. Their design style, but that doesn't mean they're not a great company that knows what they're doing and makes great games.
Right.
So what it was, a lot of it was just the fact that they'd already given all this product to Diamond, expecting Diamond to pay them for it. And then all of a sudden Diamond's like, we don't have any money. We can't pay you for it. So right off the bat, there's that loss. So there's just the fact that if they sent $1 million worth of books or whatever the number was to Diamond, then okay, that's $1 million. It's just gone because they're not getting those books back, right?
Well, I think they could, but it wasn't easy, right?
No, it's actually worse.
There was a way for them to get them back, but it would cost them a ton of money to do it, right?
Well, I don't know the specifics of that, but I do understand that the way that it was all structured was that Diamond was saying in the bankruptcy court that these are our things. We own these things now, right? So we can't give them back. So the first hit is very direct, which is, okay, I gave you $1 million worth of books. You're not giving the books back and you're not giving the $1 million back. So right off the bat, there's how you show a loss. But here's the part that's worse. And what they're still trying to stop, this hasn't happened yet. They're still in the courts. They're still dealing with it. But the thing that's worse is Now Diamond has $1 million worth of books, and their creditors are coming to them saying, we want our money. And the way the bankruptcy court works is the judge and I forget what the name of the other role is. There's a person, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe it's arbiter. They have to decide, well, who gets what? And so the creditors might come to them and say, well, you don't have any money, so what do you have? What assets? And they're like, well, here's $1 million worth of books. And the creditors go, okay, I'll take that $1 million worth of books, but I'm only going to value them at $20,000.
Right.
Because, I'm not a Barnes and Noble. I can't do anything with it. So that creditor pays $20,000 for $1 million worth of books. They have to do something with it. So they go to a company like Five Below or Dollar Tree.
Right, yeah.
And they say, I'll give you this book. It's got a cover value of $50. It's got an MSRP of $50. I'll sell it to you for $1. And then Dollar Tree says, okay, we'll sell it for $2.
Yeah.
And now Paizo's competing with its own product.
Right. Yep.
Paizo wants to sell you a $50 Starfinder book, but you can go to Dollar Tree and get the exact same book for $2.
Right.
So now Paizo didn't only lose the money from giving their product to the distributor, they are now losing future sales.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kicking their ass.
Yeah, of course it is. God damn, we would not. Well, we would survive it only because we're so small. Like we could survive that, but only because we're so small. And we, if we get if we got any bigger, it'd probably crunch us.
Yeah, going back to my car metaphor, if I was about to go buy a Ford Bronco for $40,000 or whatever they cost, and I found out that down the street Dollar Tree was selling $50 Ford Broncos.
Yeah, of course.
Damn right, I'm buying the cheap one.
Right.
So this is the state that Paizo's in right now. They have seen a loss last year, and now they're fighting an uphill battle. They're going to survive. We're not going to be talking. We're not going to be doing a story next week about Paizo disappearing. That's not going to happen.
I should hope not.
But they're very smart people who have been in the industry for a very long time. Some of the people at Paizo are veterans of the TSR layoffs in the 90s. Right. They know what it's like to go through it. They know how to survive. They're Rambo in the woods, who's gonna be able to go into the mine and find a way to live even after the National Guard shoots a bazooka in and closes it off in the front. He's going to crawl out the back, Right. Paizo's going to do it. Can you tell I just watched First Blood?
Did you really? I haven't seen that in so long.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good. It is so good. Brian Dennehy is amazing. It's hilarious to watch the second Rambo after that and see how horrible it is. But Paizo's going to survive. But what this means in the meantime is, they're struggling. They're trying to make it through this. And I was a little dismissive of their unionizing efforts over there because I'm like, come on, guys, you're like 80 people or 60 people in this little thing with this little company. Do you really need to unionize with a place like Paizo? Yes, they did. Because here's what came out of it. Those 12 people, and it doesn't sound like a big number, but remember, each of those 12 people is a whole human being.
Yeah,
with a family, with a life.
With a family, yeah.
Who did this for a living. And so some of the things that they got out of this were that even the people who have been laid off, they have a thing called, I don't remember what the actual right of recall, I think, which basically means that if Paizo does better and they're like, hey, we're making profits again, we can start filling those roles before they go and offer the role on the open market. They have to go back to the person who got laid off and say, do you want your old job back?
Yeah, it's called first something.
I think it's first recall. First refusal. First
refusal.
Recall.
Yeah, I think that it's something. Yeah, it's a term like that. Yeah.
But the point is, the person who got laid off at Paizo, they may have found another job and a better job and like that job, and so they'll say no. Or maybe they didn't find a job, or maybe they found another one and they'd really like to go back to Paizo. The point is, as part of the union agreement, they have to go back to that employee who got laid off and say, would you like your old job back?
That's good.
Which is very fair.
That's fair. Yeah, that's good.
And they have a thing that says, the people who get laid off, it has to be junior first. First in, first out.
Oh shit.
So-
Okay, so they can't do that thing where they lay off the highest paid people.
Right.
Okay.
Which is what a company likes to do, because they're like, well, this guy's been here so long, he's getting paid so much. No, this woman who's been at Paizo for 10 years, and this is completely hypothetical because I don't know who got laid off, but this woman who's been at Paizo for 10 years, she shouldn't be the first one out the door because she's put in the time and, done the hard work and deserves to be recognized for the seniority.
It's also super short-sighted to get rid of your folks who have a lot of experience. The
Right.
Japanese don't. My understanding is, from what I was reading, the Japanese don't tend to do that. They actually have. There's this common thing that Japanese businesses do, where they'll actually keep somebody who's getting getting old and ready to retire. They will pay them to just be there for advice.
Right.
Like
We
they
call
actually-
it institution. We call it institutional knowledge.
Yeah, they pay their older employees to just stick around for a while, just so that when people have questions, they can answer them, because they have so much, like you said, there's so much
Interesting.
value in their institutional knowledge that it's worthwhile, because you don't, you've done this before. You bring on a new person to your business. They're not really doing anything worthwhile for the first 6 months.
Right.
It takes 6 months to spend someone up.
Yeah, this is
Right?
why you want to be really careful about getting rid of an employee, because it costs a heck of a lot more to get a new one,
Oh my God, it takes a long
no matter
time.
how good they are.
And that's fair. That's a fair thing, because when you start in a business, think about it. When you start a new job, first couple of months, don't you ask yourself, am I really doing anything? Am I worth anything here?
Right.
And the answer is no, because you're trying to get caught up. They have
Yeah.
a system.
So their union, they did really good things with that. And then another thing, and this is why it's so interesting. The more I learn about how these unions work, and the more it shocks me that there are no unions in places like design companies or tech companies or whatever. But another thing is, when the layoffs happened, because of the union negotiations that they'd done beforehand, before any of this was coming. So if, let's say, that junior employee is getting laid off, the employees have the right, a more senior employee has the right to step up and say, I volunteer to take the layoff instead.
Okay.
If, because let's just say for some reason, maybe somebody has been there for 10 years and they're ready to move on. Either they're tired of the job, or they've got a better opportunity, or they've starting in their own company, whatever it might be. They have the opportunity to say, you know what, Sue, who's just joined 2 years ago, really needs this job and is good at this job, and I am kind of ready to go. So I would like to let me take the layoff instead.
Like,
They're
just
allowed
imagine-
to do that.
Imagine one's like, honestly, I've been talking to Monty Cook. He's been talking about maybe bringing me on. You know what? Honestly, I'm going to go do that. Let Susan keep her job.
Yeah, exactly. And the union members have a seat at the table when they're deciding how they're going to handle these things. All that kind of stuff comes into play. So I guess, I said this was a bummer of a story for the end, because we're talking about Paizo facing their difficult future, and that is a bummer. But in a way, it's also a positive story, because it's showing us how a company can be competitive and aggressive and profit-minded and have a union. So best of luck to Paizo. I really hope everything works out. It makes me feel like I need to buy more Paizo books. I don't know. I probably won't. I'm not playing these games. But the point is, I think they're going to come out of it strong. It's tough for the whole industry to look at, but maybe for those people who are indie creators in the industry and who are struggling with some of the things that happened, maybe it feels a little bit better to know that this is happening across the industry, and we're all going to get through it together.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's a good note to end this week on.
Yeah. All right. Hey, let's wrap up with a couple things. For one, you mentioned how cool it is to be on a team. We have a team. It's called Analog Union, right? You guys should check it out. Analogunion.com.
Absolutely. There's a newsletter every week that you can get for free. If you look on the website, the newsletters are all down at the bottom from the past, so you can read through those. And I mentioned that I was having a chat with Hambone earlier tonight. He's one of the other folks. There are no leaders of the Analog Union. We're a collective. So I won't call him a leader of the Analog Union. But we were talking about maybe more things that we can do in the future, ways that we can help each other out with knowledge and with doing some funding together. We're talking about some other cool projects, and we're even looking at the idea of bringing in what we call Friends of the Union, where we can give other small creators a voice. And a brand new company has joined, Mythmere Games. So fans of that should pick up the newsletter just to read what Mythmere Games is up to. And like you said, if you go to analogunion.com, you can put your email address in there. You get the newsletter every week for free, and it is fun. So do it.
Yeah. It's not, dude. It is not spammy. This is like ground level, like zine level creators submitting their stuff. We all put it together. Not everybody does something every week. Like if you have something to talk about, you talk about it. I mean, and several of our guys, I mean, I think we've done it too. They'll put in something that has nothing to do with they'll promote someone else. So we're not, it's a all, rising tides raise all ships kind of thing. It's not a business decision for us. It was a cool thing to do with our friends and help promote.
And it's fun and we love it. So go to analogunion.com and get that. We normally do a Patreon members Discord after the show. As everybody can tell, it's about 11 p.m. on a Monday. I have to be in New York City in the morning early, so I cannot stay on this. And I know you got a school night.
School night. I got a work night. I got to go to work tomorrow.
You know what that's what I meant. Yeah. So sorry, folks, we're not going to be in the Discord tonight, but we will do it again next week. Thank you everybody for listening. Like and subscribe. Drop us a review, and we'll see you all next week.